Orbital Sciences Corporation was an American company specializing in the design, manufacture and launch of small and medium-class space and rocket systems for commercial, military and other government customers. It was headquartered in Dulles, Virginia and publicly traded on the New York Stock Exchange with the ticker symbol ORB. Orbital, a unregistered trademark. S primary products are satellites and launch vehicles, including low Earth orbit, geosynchronous-Earth orbit and planetary spacecraft for communications, remote sensing, scientific and defense missions. Ground and air-launched rockets that deliver satellites into orbit. Missile defense systems that are used as interceptor and target vehicles. And human-rated space systems for Earth orbit, lunar and other missions. Orbital also provided satellite subsystems and space-related technical services to government agencies and laboratories. On April 29, 2014, Orbital Sciences announced that it would merge with Alliant Tech Systems to create a new company called Orbital ATK, Incorporated. The merger was completed on February 9, 2015 and Orbital Sciences ceased to exist as an independent entity. History: Orbital was founded and incorporated in 1982 by three friends who had met earlier while at Harvard Business School: David W. Thompson, Bruce Ferguson and Scott Webster. In 1985, Orbital procured its first contract for providing up to 4 transfer orbital stage vehicles to NASA. In 1987, the seeds for the Orbcom constellation were planted when Orbital began investigating a system using low Earth orbit satellites to collect data from remote locations. In 1988, Orbital acquired Space Data Corporation in Arizona, one of the world's leading suppliers of suborbital rockets, thereby broadening its rocket business and manufacturing capabilities. This was followed by the opening of a new facility in Chandler, Arizona in 1989 to house the company's expanding rocket business. In 1990, the company successfully carried out 8 space missions, highlighted by the initial launch of the Pegasus Rocket, the world's first privately developed space launch vehicle. Shortly following the successful Pegasus launch, Orbital conducted an IPO in 1990 and began trading on the Nasdaq Stock Exchange. In 1993, Orbital established its current headquarters in Dulles, Virginia, followed by the acquisition of Fairchild Space and Defense Corporation in 1994. In the same year, Orbital successfully conducted the inaugural launch of the Antares rocket. Orbital's acquisitions continued throughout the 1990s, including the acquisition of CTA, Incorporated in 1997, a company having designed and built the first geostationary LightSat, under contract to Indonesia for Asia's first direct broadcast satellite television broadcast program, providing an entry into the fast-growing geosynchronous communications satellite market. In the early 2000s, Orbital continued expanding its missile defense systems business with a $900 million award to develop, build, test and support interceptor booster vehicles. In 2006, Orbital conducted its 500th mission since the company unregistered trademark S founding, with a diverse portfolio of products that included satellites, launch vehicles, and missile defense systems. In 2007, the first interplanetary spacecraft built by Orbital, Dawn, was launched on an 8-year, 3 billion-mile journey to the main asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. A major milestone in the company's history was in 2008 when it received a long-term NASA contract to provide cargo transportation services to and from the International Space Station, with a value of approximately $1.9 billion for missions from 2011 to 2015. Orbital is currently on track to deliver on this contract with its Cygnus spacecraft and Antares rocket following the success of Cygnus Orb-D1 and Cygnus ERS Orb-1. In 2010, Orbital announced its acquisition of the Gilbert, Arizona-based satellite development and manufacturing unit from General Dynamics to complement its main satellite manufacturing facility in Dulles, Virginia. On April 29, 2014, Orbital Sciences announced that it had entered into a definitive agreement with Alliant Tech Systems to combine Orbital and ATK's aerospace and defense groups to create a $4.5 billion, 13,000-person company. The new company will be called Orbital ATK, Incorporated, and will serve U.S. and international customers with leading positions in the markets for space launch vehicles and propulsion systems, tactical missiles and defense electronics, satellites and space systems, armament systems and ammunition, and commercial and military aircraft structures and related components. Business groups. Space Systems Group = Orbital was a provider of small to medium-class satellites. Since the company's founding in 1982, Orbital has delivered 150 spacecraft to commercial, military and civil customers worldwide. To date, these spacecraft have amassed well over 1,000 years of on-orbit operations. The communications and imaging satellites developed by Orbital are smaller and more affordable. The geosynchronous orbit communications satellites provide commercial satellite services such as direct-to-home digital television, business data transmission, cable program distribution and wireless communications. In addition, Orbital also provides constellations of low Earth orbit communications satellites such as the 35-satellite Orbcom Data Communications Network, and the 81 spacecraft for the Iridium NEXT constellation. Earth imagery and high-resolution digital imaging satellites such as the OrbView series are also developed and manufactured by Orbital. The science and environmental satellites developed by Orbital perform scientific research, carry out deep space exploration, and demonstrate new space technologies. In the last 10 years, Orbital has built more scientific and environmental monitoring satellites for NASA than any other company. Launch Systems Group = Orbital space launch vehicles are considered the industry standard for boosting small payloads to orbit. The Pegasus rocket is launched from the company's L-1011 carrier aircraft, Stargazer, and has proven to be the industry's small space launch workhorse, having conducted 40 missions from 6 different launch sites worldwide since 1990. The Minotaur ground-launched rockets combine Pegasus upper stages with either government-supplied or commercially available first-stage rocket motors to boost larger payloads to orbit. Minotaur 4 combines decommissioned Peacekeeper rocket motors with proven orbital avionics and fairings to provide increased lifting capacity for government-sponsored payloads. With the development of the Antares space launch vehicle, Orbital is extending its capabilities to provide medium-class launch services for U.S. government, commercial and international customers. The inaugural launch of Antares occurred on April 21, 2013 from Wallops Flight Facility at Wallops Island, Virginia. Orbital is also a major provider of suborbital target and interceptor launch vehicles for the U.S. missile defense systems. In the last 10 years, Orbital conducted nearly 50 major launches for the U.S. Missile Defense Agency, the Air Force, the Army and Navy to develop, test and enhance U.S. missile defense systems. Advanced Programs Group = Orbital a unregistered trademark S Advanced Programs Group focused on developing and producing human-rated space systems, satellites and related systems for national security space programs, and advanced flight systems for atmospheric and space missions. In support of human space systems, Orbital is one of 2 companies providing commercial cargo resupply services to the International Space Station for NASA. Orbital's medium-class rocket Antares is used to launch the Cygnus Advanced Maneuvering spacecraft to deliver cargo to the ISS. Under the Commercial Resupply Services contract with NASA, Orbital will perform 8 cargo missions to the ISS. Operational flights began in 2013 from the new Mid-Atlantic Regional Spaceport at Wallops Island in Virginia. In addition, the company is exploring opportunities to adapt the Cygnus design for other possible space exploration applications. For national security space systems, Orbital provides products ranging from smaller, more affordable spacecraft buses to hosted payload applications. For advanced flight systems, Orbital is applying its to design and build an intermediate-class air-launched rocket system for stratolaunch systems. Orbital has developed the operational concept and completed the preliminary design for the air-launched rocket. It will be responsible for the development, production, test and operations of the full system and related ground operations. Technical Services Division The Technical Services Division provided engineering, production and technical management expertise primarily for space-related science and defense programs. Typically, it supplies specialized personnel engineers, scientists, technicians and other professionals with specific knowledge in the areas that its customers are pursuing. The Orbital employees often work side by side with the customer's technical staff at their facilities. They perform a wide range of functions, from system-level efforts such as special payload equipment and training support for NASA's Hubble Space Telescope servicing missions to component-level tasks including development of high-energy microwave transmitters for the National Radio Astronomy Observatory. Primary facility locations. Orbital's primary locations are listed below: Dulles, Virginia corporate headquarters and primary location for satellite design and manufacturing, Mid-Atlantic Regional Spaceport, Wallops Island, Virginia launch vehicle assembly, testing and launch. Cargo logistics spacecraft processing. Research rocket assembly, test and launch, Chandler, Arizona, launch vehicle design and manufacturing and program offices, Gilbert, Arizona satellite design and manufacturing, Greenbelt, Maryland Technical Services Division, Vandenberg Air Force Base, California launch vehicle assembly, test and launch, Huntington Beach, California Southern California Engineering Center, Huntsville, Alabama Missile Defense Systems Engineering and Manufacturing. Orbital products. Space launch vehicles Minotaur employing a combination of U.S. government-supplied rocket motors and Orbital's commercial launch technologies. The Minotaur family of launchers provides low-cost access to space for government-sponsored payloads. Minotaur I made its inaugural flight in January 2000, successfully delivering several small military and university satellites into orbit and marking the first-ever use of residual U.S. government Minuteman boosters in a space launch vehicle. To date, Minotaur I has conducted 11 missions with a 100% success record, having launched a total of 62 satellites. Minotaur 4. The Minotaur 4 space launch vehicle consists of 3 Peacekeeper solid rocket stages, a commercial Orion 38 fourth-stage motor and subsystems derived from OSC's established space launch boosters, including a flight-proven standard 92-inch fairing. Capable of boosting payloads more than 1,750 kilograms into orbit, Minotaur 4 supports dedicated or shared launch missions and is compatible with multiple U.S. government and commercial launch sites. The inaugural Minotaur 4 flight occurred in 2010 and 5 missions have been conducted to date with a 100% success record, boosting 9 satellites into orbit and 2 hypersonic flight vehicles on suborbital trajectories. Minotaur V is a 5-stage evolutionary version of Minotaur 4 to provide a cost-effective capability to launch U.S. government-sponsored small spacecraft into high-energy trajectories, including geosynchronous transfer orbits as well as translunar and beyond. Like Minotaur 4, the first 3 stages of the Minotaur V are former Peacekeeper solid rocket motors. The 4th and 5th stages are commercial stair ascent motors. The inaugural Minotaur V mission successfully boosted NASA's LADEE spacecraft on a lunar trajectory in September 2013. Minotaur 6. The Minotaur 6 vehicle adds a lower stage to the existing in-flight demonstrated Minotaur 4 vehicle configuration, providing a significant increase in performance with only a modest increase in cost. Capable of boosting up to 2,600 kilograms to low Earth orbit, Minotaur 6 is also available with an optional upper stage motor for high-energy trajectory missions. Minotaur C. The Minotaur C space launch vehicle is a commercial variant of the Minotaur product line designed to serve the U.S. government market. Of 9 launches, 6 have been successful. Pegasus. The 3-stage Pegasus is used to deploy small satellites weighing up to 1,000 pounds into low Earth orbit. Pegasus is carried aloft by the Stargazer L-1011 aircraft to approximately 40,000 feet over open ocean, where it is released and free falls 5 seconds before igniting its first-stage rocket motor. With its unique delta-shaped wing, Pegasus typically delivers satellites into orbit in a little over 10 minutes. Pegasus has conducted 42 missions since its inaugural launch in 1990, 37 of which were complete successes. Pegasus 2. Antares, Antares is a two-stage launch vehicle designed to deliver medium-class payloads weighing up to 6120 kilograms into space. Antares utilizes refurbished Russian-built engines which were originally manufactured in the 1960s and 1970s for the Soviet moon rocket. Initially developed to demonstrate commercial resupply of the International Space Station under a NASA contract, the first launch took place on April 21, 2013, from Wallops Flight Facility, Virginia. The fifth launch ended in failure on October 28, 2014, completely destroying the vehicle and damaging the launch pad. Antares Follow-On. Following the loss of the Antares rocket on the Orb-3 mission in October 2014, Orbital announced that it would not use the 40-year-old AJ-26 engines on the rocket unregistered trademark S next flight. The new first-stage engine is reportedly the Russian Rod 193 rather than the AJ-26 engines used in the initial version of the Antares launch vehicle, which were remanufactured Russian NK-33s. Orbital Sciences Corporation has reportedly signed a contract with Russia unregistered trademark S Energomash to supply 60 new built D-181 engines for the Antares rocket. While Antares AJ-26 is not flying and the follow-on launch vehicle is in development and test, Orbital is shopping to purchase launch services for its Cygnus capsule to ISS cargo runs temporarily from another launch service provider. Commercial resupply services to ISS with the successful demonstration in September 2013 of the Cygnus spacecraft and the Antares launch vehicle under the Commercial Orbital Transportation Services Program, Orbital commenced regular ISS cargo missions under the Commercial Resupply Services contract. The total NASA contract to Orbital is worth $1.9 billion for providing 8 pressurized cargo missions to the ISS. Cygnus is capable of delivering 2,000 kilograms of pressurized cargo to the ISS. An enhanced version to be flown in later CRS missions is able to deliver 2,700 kilograms of pressurized cargo. The first of the 8 contracted Cygnus missions to the ISS was completed on February 18, 2014. The October 28, 2014, launch failure was the third contracted Cygnus mission to the ISS. Missile defense systems, interceptors and targets. Orbital's missile defense systems product line consists of interceptors and target vehicles. The ground-based interceptor, Orbital is the sole supplier of interceptor boosters for the U.S. Missile Defense Agency's ground-based mid-course defense system, to defend against long-range ballistic missile attacks. The GMD system is designed to intercept and destroy hostile ballistic missiles in their mid-course phase of flight before they re-enter the Earth's atmosphere. Orbital is responsible for the design, development and testing of the Orbital Boost Vehicle, a silo-launched, 3-stage rocket derived from its Pegasus, Taurus and Minotaur space launch boosters. The OBV has successfully conducted multiple test flights and has been deployed in silos in Alaska and California. Ballistic missile targets. Orbital's family of target vehicles extends from long-range ballistic target launch vehicles, which include targets for testing MDAA unregistered trademark SGMD system, to medium and short-range target vehicles. Current programs include air-launched intermediate-range ballistic missile targets and ground-launched intercontinental ballistic missile (ICBM) targets. GQM-163AA Coyote Air anti-ship cruise missile target. The GQM-163AA Coyote Air is used for anti-ship cruise missile targets. It can achieve cruise speeds of over Mach 2.5 while flying approximately 15 feet above the ocean's surface. In addition to the sea-skimming trajectory, Orbital has also successfully demonstrated a high diver trajectory mission. Communications satellites. Geocommunications satellites. With its proprietary Geostar 2 satellite platform, Orbital has become a leading supplier of 1.5 to 5.5 kilowatt geosynchronous-Earth orbit communications satellites used to provide direct-to-home TV broadcasting, cable program distribution, business data network capacity, regional mobile communications and similar services. With its new Geostar 3 satellite platform, Orbital is extending its capabilities with up to 8 kilowatts of total satellite payload power. The list of orbital-built GeoStar satellites are provided next. LEO communications satellites, Orbcom. Orbital is also a provider of low Earth orbit communications satellites, having conceived, built and deployed the Orbcom network. Orbcom was the first global communications network to employ a constellation of LEO satellites. From 1994–1999, Orbital built and deployed 35 satellites, and integrated 5 Euro ground stations and a network operations center to manage the satellites and process their data. Iridium Next, under a contract with Thales Alenia Space, Orbital is conducting integration and test services for Iridium Next, the next-generation satellite constellation of Iridium Communications Incorporated. Orbital will integrate the communications payloads and platforms for 81 low Earth orbit Iridium Next satellites and test the systems at its satellite manufacturing facility in Gilbert, Arizona. Imaging satellites Orbital imaging spacecrafts are designed to provide commercial Earth imaging services. The OrbView series of spacecraft paved the way for today's unregistered trademark space-based Earth imaging industry. In addition to the OrbView satellites, the company also built the GeoEye-1 high-resolution imaging satellite. Orbital LeoStar 2 and -3 spacecraft platforms are designed to support a variety of multispectral, visible and thermal imaging payloads. A list of commercial imaging satellites built by Orbital is provided next. GeoEye-1, OrbView 4, OrbView 2, OrbView 1, Early Bird 1. Science and environmental satellites Orbital-built science and environmental satellites conduct astrophysics, remote sensing Earth observation, heliophysics, planetary exploration and technology demonstration missions. These satellites are built on Orbital's LeoStar 1, -2, or -3 satellite platforms depending on the mission requirements and budget. Astrophysics satellites Orbital's current and heritage astrophysics satellites are as listed below. Transiting Exoplanet Survey Satellite for NASA/MIT launch expected in 2017, Nuclear Spectroscopic Telescope Array for NASA/JPL launched in 2012, Fermi Gamma Ray Space Telescope for NASA GSFC launched in 2008, Swift Gamma Ray Burst Mission for NASA GSFC launched in 2004, Galaxy Evolution Explorer for NASA GSFC launched in 2003, Far Ultraviolet Spectroscopic Explorer for NASA/Johns Hopkins University launched in 1999, Extreme Ultraviolet Explorer for NASA launched in 1992, Remote Sensing Earth Observation, Orbital's current and heritage remote sensing Earth observation satellites are as listed below, Ionospheric Connection Explorer for NASA GSFC launch expected in 2016, Ice, Cloud, and Land Elevation Satellite 2 for NASA GSFC launch expected in 2016, Orbiting Carbon Observatory 2 for NASA JPL launched in 2014, Landsat 8 for NASA USGS launched in 2013, Glory for NASA GSFC launched in 2011, Orbiting Carbon Observatory for NASA JPL launched in 2009, Aeronomy of Ice in the Mesosphere for NASA Hampton University launched in 2007, Formosat 3/Cosmic for National Space Organization Taiwan launched in 2006, Coriolis for Naval Research Laboratory and Air Force Research Laboratory launched in 2003, Keek-Toms for NASA GSFC launched in 2001, Sea-Star for NASA ORBIMAGE launched in 1997, Microlab 1 for NASA UCAR launched in 1995, TOPEX Poseidon for NASA CNES launched in 1992, Upper Atmosphere Research Satellite for NASA launched in 1991, Landsat 5 for NASA USGS launched in 1984, Landsat 4 for NASA USGS launched in 1982, Heliophysics, Orbital's heritage heliophysics satellites are as listed below, Interstellar Boundary Explorer for NASA SWRI launched in 2008. Solar Radiation and Climate Experiment for NASA LASP launched in 2003, Reuven Ramati High Energy Solar Spectroscopic Imager for NASA/University of California, Berkeley launched in 2002, Active Cavity Radiometer Irradiance Monitor Satellite for NASA/JPL launched in 1999, Planetary Exploration, Orbital's Heritage Planetary Exploration Heliophysics Satellites are as listed below. Dawn for NASA/JPL launched in 2007, Deep Space One for NASA/JPL launched in 1998. National Security Systems Orbital's national security systems range from smaller, more affordable spacecraft buses to hosted payload applications. Orbital advocates disaggregated systems because conceptually disaggregated systems can lower the cost and accelerate the development and deployment of national security space systems. For example, Orbital's GeoStar-1 spacecraft provides a compact platform optimized for GEO missions. Orbital's hosted payload capabilities and national security systems include the Hosted Infrared Payload program for the U.S. Air Force. The Wide Field of View sensor was hosted on an Orbital-built commercial geo-communications satellite. Orbital unregistered trademark S-hosted payload program takes advantage of the high frequency of commercial satellite launches and the excess resources that typically exist on a commercial communications satellite to provide frequent and low-cost access to space for national security systems. Advanced Flight Systems Orbital's current Advanced Flight Systems programs include the contract with Stratolaunch Systems to design a new intermediate-class rocket to be carried aloft and launched from the largest aircraft ever built, Stratolaunch carrier aircraft. Orbital is responsible for the program's overall systems engineering, and the development, production, test, and operations of the air-launched rocket and related ground operations, including payload and launch vehicle integration. A demo launch is currently scheduled for 2017. Orbital's heritage programs in advanced flight systems include the NASA X-34 and X-43 programs, and the Orion Launch Abort System, among others. See also, Commercial Resupply Services, SpaceX, Space Exploration. References. External links, Orbital Sciences Corporation official website.